Hi, I'm John LeReverend. I've been with RBRO Solutions for about 13 years now as a solutions consultant. Here at RBRO, I help clients gain control of their data and make it more efficient.
Hi folks, I'm Howard Russell. I'm the CEO here at RBRO Solutions, and for over 17 years, we've been making it our number one priority to ensure that your organization gets the best value out of their iManage investment. Well, we've got lots to talk about today, so let's just jump right into it, shall we, John?
You recently presented a webinar with a rather large global law firm talking about a very successful migration of one of their offices. What were some of the key ingredients to make that a successful project?
I think a very strong contributor to our success, John, was the very collaborative approach that we had with the leadership of that project. In this case, this wasn't an RBRO do our migration. This was let's work together to get the best result for this organization. And in this case, the customer's internal knowledge and the customer's strengths with the expertise that we had developed over more than 17 years of doing this work contributed to a really, really strong project. I think also the project and the process of the project was really well planned. Expectations were well managed, and the strengths and the expertise that we brought to the table were married well with the strengths and the expertise that came from within the client organization. I think for our part, we did our best to respond quickly to concerns with a level of detail that brought confidence. And of course, the customer was under no illusions about the possibility that everything would go perfectly. There were lots of interesting challenges within the organization's content structures as they had them today that we had to work through. But we did that together, and we worked together to find those solutions. No finger pointing, just problem solving. Made for a great project.
We've heard a lot about bad data. Howard, can you tell us a little bit more about that and how it would affect an implementation?
Bad data. Bad data is the bane of my existence. It's the bane of anybody's existence who has to do a lot of migrations of information from one system to another. It's a challenge, John. Systems that have been around for many, many years invariably have data issues in them, and you've got to work through that. It's something we've gotten better and better and better over the years as we've done this. It requires strong collaboration with yourselves, our clients, as well as our internal team and our partners who use our tools. RBRO doesn't just support clients. We also have a network of iManage partners that use our tools to facilitate migrations for our customers as well. And so we've got to work with everybody to make sure that the tools are strong enough to support that and also that they have a good experience. I think preparation is key. There's a concept that we've talked about, this concept of know your data. And it's something that's really, really important. It's a philosophy that we employ, and it's something that we suggest you employ. Dig deep into the information that you've got. Make sure you know ahead of time what's there, and make a plan for what you're going to do when you run into that challenging data so that you can streamline your process.
So we've heard about bad data. Now what about old data? What role does flexibility play in managing expectations when dealing with that?
John, RBRO's been a leader from the initial days of cloud migration back when iManage first started that. And from day one, when the new APIs, REST APIs came out and we started working with them, we had to deal with challenges in error management. And it's something that has been growing and we've been getting better and better. Even as I mentioned about the know your data, we also have to know the tools that we have available to us from an API perspective, tools from database perspective, the process of transferring content to the cloud. All of that's involved. And I think the key thing for us is that we had to learn in the early days how to overcome some of those challenges that were there. Not just the data issues, but the limitations that we had within the API. And I think one of the things that was really great about that was the collaboration that we had with the iManage team. The engineering team at iManage were great about listening to us about the challenges that were out there and working to find solutions that would help to move that forward for us. Now we're working to make sure that all of our customers, iManage partners, have clarity, and I think that's the key about error management. It's looking for the patterns. What's going on? What are the different aspects of your system that you should be looking at? Is it a communication issue between the source and the destination? Is it that we've got some content issues? Is it unexpected data types in the incorrect fields that we need to work with? And I think the more that you know your data, back to that theme of know your data, the better able you are to be able to recognize that this error that's coming, it's something that's consistent, it's happening over and over again, and there's a small change that needs to be made, and then you can move forward. And so for us, it's been about recognizing the patterns and then using those patterns to extrapolate and build out solutions, adding it into our tools so that our tools are taking over more and more of the error management on our behalf, and so that our partners, our engineers, and our customers don't have to deal with those errors. It's just taken care of inherently by the tool. So we'll continue to grow that aspect of what we do. But also having a strong awareness of the behavior of the overall iManage system and source systems, whether it's the Windows file system or another document management system that the information is coming from. Having a good understanding of those source systems and how they work, that's also what's given us the ability to be really effective in managing the errors that come up and turning those errors into really successful migrations. It's incredibly important to manage expectations, of course, around the data that's coming in. Sometimes we've got source systems with data that is organized in a particular way that's not as effective as you'd like it, and so you want that data to change when you're moving it forward. But the thing about it is, complexity's got to bring about simplicity. Are you simplifying the data on the destination? Are you making it easier for folks to interact with? And are you making your migration process simple? Or are the rules that you create or that you're working through in order to migrate your data just making things harder? What you want in a migration is for it to be as straightforward as possible. If I've got a lot of complex rules that map data here or map data there or map data there, but in this circumstance the data goes there, but not if this circumstance is the case, in which case it should go over here, it gets really complex. And your ability to track that data and to ensure that it goes accurately to where it's supposed to be becomes increasingly difficult. So keep it as simple as you can. At the same time, recognize that this is the time. If there's something that you need to do around the organization of that content as part of your migration, or there's something that you need to do to facilitate a particular group of users within the organization, if you can do it simply, this is the time to do it because you've got maximum access to that data as part of those migration activities, and we're happy to work through that with you. I think it's key to make sure, though, that you've got a good balance between flexibility and some level of a standard that's going to help the organization to move forward effectively.
So we've heard there's several options in getting your data into the iManage cloud. There's direct to cloud versus staged migrations from on-prem with a subsequent lift and shift. Can you explain the difference?
John, during last year's ILTA survey, one of the key barriers to moving to the cloud that folks were talking about was performance. The ability to get the same level of performance out of the cloud that they might have otherwise gotten out of on-premise systems. That's also a question when you're migrating content to the cloud. How quickly can I move that content? If I migrated on-premise where I've got access to the local network, I've got really high bandwidth, I can get information out of my old system into my new system quite quickly. I also have lots of flexibility about dealing with that data because I've got access to the backend SQL database, the iManage database, or even potentially a source database. And so I think that it's really important to be able to have that flexibility in large migration situations. And so in those cases, we might decide that we want to do an on-premise migration initially, and then of course, lift that content to the cloud using something like AZ copy, which is very fast, and get that initial content followed by an ongoing Delta process to continue finishing up the migration. And that's something that we can do really straightforwardly. It's something that is from a user perspective, there's no difference. But from our perspective and the migration team's perspective, it's absolutely seamless switching from that initial on-prem migration to a cloud-based Delta synchronization. At the same time, it can be important for some organizations not to have infrastructure set up for a migration process on-prem. And so in those situations, we can go directly to the cloud. And one of the neat things is, as the APIs continue to improve from iManage, the solutions that we've built to take advantage of those APIs have improved, and we're seeing much better performance today than we were seeing 2 years ago. And so absolutely, we can take an organization that maybe doesn't have hundreds of millions of documents and migrate them just directly to the cloud very quickly and very effectively as well. So I would say when we're sitting with you as an organization, as a customer, we would want to have that dialogue, understand what your needs are, what the value is, where all the content is coming from, for example, and determine what's the right thing for you. The key for you is you can do either or. Both of them are beneficial for different reasons.
So Howard, RBRO's been at this for a long time, doing migrations and looking at iManage data. Let's talk a little bit about what we've had to improve over the years.
A few areas, I think, John, that I would say we've had to improve over the years. One of the areas we've had to grow in is the area of the cloud onboarding process. It's an ever-changing, improving thing that we're not always as proactive And we have not always been, I'd say, as proactive as we could be or should be in terms of how we help our customers through that process. And this has been an area of growth for us, even more so as we've moved towards the cloud. The cloud, customers don't have the same access to the back end in the cloud as they do on the front end. And of course, if they're moving from an environment in which they had lots of control, as in a lift and shift situation where everything was on premise, they understood it all, they had it all, and they're moving to the cloud, of course, there's invariably questions about what we have to do. What do we need to prepare? For those who have never been on a document management system before, we have to think about the steps, step by step to get into that system. What are the consulting requirements? Who do we have to speak with in the organization? All these things are considerations. And what we've done to improve over the years is to create tools and to create templates and things that would help our customers to understand way ahead of time, not having to wait till the day they need to have that thing to find out about it. And of course, that's been a challenge in some implementations. But to know way ahead of time that this thing that they saw on the project plan at the beginning of the project is going to be really important. And here's some key things that you've got to know about those items in order to prepare and to get ready to deliver those items 3 weeks hence, 4 weeks hence, or 2 months hence. And so I think that's one of the key things that we've learned is to prepare our customers as much as possible with as much information as we can give them about what they're going to need to deliver so they can be full active participants in this project with us. Also, there were a number of bugs that needed to be overcome in the APIs initially, in our tools as we began to build them. The proliferation of our tools brought a flood of support calls from partners and customers alike who were taking on these tools for the first time. And of course, there was resourcing challenges as that grew so quickly. And so we've had to learn how to make sure that the solutions that we're building are as error-free as possible, number one, but also are taking care of some of the challenges, as I mentioned before, in the errors aspect of what we were talking about, taking care of some of those challenges so our partners don't have to. And by doing so, reducing the amount of support calls that are coming into us. Not because we don't want to talk to our partners and customers, of course, but because I think that you would rather have a solution that's really working well so you don't have to call, and that when you do call, we're talking about your strategy. We're talking about how to take these even further for you so that you can have a better experience.
Managing expectations is something that we hear a lot about in the industry. What's your take?
I think there are a couple key things that organizations have to consider in this area, John. I think that there's a reality to your data, and the partner that you choose to work with will have to take that into account as they work with your content and help you to move things. They're going to do their best to shape that data to your needs, but it's important to temper the expectations for the end result against the effort and the cost that you want to employ. So ensure that you and your selected partner know your data really well. And there's that theme again, know your data. Make sure that you both have a really good understanding of what the data is, and then make sure there's clarity about what you're expecting of the data. The other thing is to make sure that you take on the idea that things are going to change for your users, and that you also communicate that really well to your users. I've been involved in projects where we've been called in to assist with an implementation that was done by another group, or in a situation where a client was really just trying to help their customers, help their end users to feel comfortable about moving on to the document management system. And so they'd use words like, there's no real difference, it's just a new system, we're just updating it, and it'll be fairly similar to what you've had before. Well, those users, at the end of that implementation, they look at you and they say, but I thought you said. And what you said and what the reality of their life is now with this new system are two very, very different things, and they hadn't prepared themselves for that. So it's important that you manage expectations of your users, and I think you'll have really solid adoption if they know what's coming, you know what's coming, and what you say is coming is what's actually delivered. So make sure you do a good job on that. But then also make sure you're doing a really effective job of preparing those users for the change. If they're prepared for the change, obviously there's going to be challenges, but you'll get a much more effective outcome. You'll have users that are working with you as opposed to feeling that they don't trust you and working against you. And if they don't trust you, your next project is going to be that much worse. So manage those expectations well.
So in the market and in the legal and corporate sectors, we've heard a lot about cloud, and there's a little bit of cloud fatigue in the market. Some folks are a little tired about hearing about it. Why is it such a big deal? And what about those who choose to remain on-premise?
It's difficult for sure, John, for those who have clients that require them to maintain an on-premise environment or participate in events, when it seems that the only topic is about the one thing that they aren't yet prepared to do. I've got this to offer. Many of the benefits that are shared during a conference such as this or in other events about the iManage Cloud, many of those benefits can be experienced by someone in an iManage on-premise environment, and they can get the benefits of those things. I think that this is the direction the market is going, John. It's likely that, as a customer, you're going to be in a position at some point in time to be able to take advantage of some of the key capabilities that the cloud offers that might be over and above and beyond what you might experience on-prem. Change is coming faster and faster. The cloud allows organizations to move with that change in a much more efficient manner while streamlining costs over time. And so if you want to take advantage of that streamlining of costs, if you want to be able to see that change or experience or benefit from the change that happens, the increasing complexity, the increasing capabilities and features that are available in the solution over time, much easier to take advantage of that stuff in a cloud environment where your IT staff, your program managers, folks like that don't have to be in this space of learning how to deliver a solution, but rather learning how to interact with the solution and to gain the benefits along with the rest of the users of that solution. So I think that's one of the key things that you get from cloud. In the cloud environment, these changes come, they're implemented, they're available, you just have to opt into them. In an on-premise environment, you've got to go through the work of learning how to implement that, or you've got to pay someone like an RBRO Solutions a lot of money to go ahead and do that for you. And of course, we're happy to do it if that's what's necessary, but I think it's sooner or later you're probably heading to the cloud, and if you don't need to be in the cloud, or if you can't because there's a very specific reason, I think iManage is unique in that it offers you really both options so that you can take advantage of the key capabilities of that solution, even in an on-premise situation.
Howard, what are some of the things you feel have contributed to RBRO's success as an iManage migration specialist organization?
I think a couple key things, John. One of those things is a strong motivation for the end user experience. We want to make sure that organizations that take on the iManage solution, that those users are really enjoying it and they're having a great time with adoption. That's a big focus of ours. The second thing is we've chosen to work with just one product, the iManage product. We don't sell 2 or 3 different document management systems. And what that's meant for our teams is that they've been able to focus on being the absolute best at what they do. I think those are some of the key things, John, that help us to be successful in this particular market.
So Howard, we've covered a lot on this session today, and I hope that it's been beneficial to all of you listening and watching. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to share that might be beneficial?
For sure, John. The best way for us to be your best partner, and I say this to iManage customers and iManage partners as well, is communication. Talk to us when you're really pleased with what we're doing, and also talk to us when there's a challenge or there's something that you don't really love. The best way that we can meet your needs is to hear from you, and we'll be as responsive as we can to make sure that you're having a great time. Share your needs and ideas as well. If you've got ideas for a challenge that can be overcome or some neat capability or feature that's important to you and you think can benefit not just yourselves but others as well, share them with us. We've got some great capabilities from a consulting perspective, from a software development perspective, and we've got a great understanding of the overall iManage solution and platform. So we're here to help you in whatever way we can. Come and talk to us. Let us help you out, and let us help you to have a great time with the iManage product line.